Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Railfanning Spotsylvania 2025 Volume 2. We make a return trip to Spotsylvania, as this is one of my very favorite locations on the RF&P subdivision. Spotsylvania has become a new spot in my recent trips, and I love the fact where you can get many different angles of the trains with your phone when you're taking pictures and videos. In this video, Amtrak, CSX, and Virginia Railway Express put on a great show as they moved the passengers locally, nationally, and moving the freight across the East Coast. This section of track was owned by the RF&P. RF&P was founded in 1836 and was acquired by CSX in 1992. The station is a Virginia Railway Express agency station. The VRE is a short line that runs 90 miles from Spotsylvania County to our nation's capital. This is a very, very busy area with all three of these railroads working hard to pull America's passengers and moving America's goods along this busy main line. The RF&P had two major yards, Acco Yard in Richmond and Potomac Yard near the nation's capital. The Potomac Yard was closed in 1992 as part of CSX's takeover, but Acco Yard remains a very busy point not only as a major classification yard, but also a crew change point and a division point. We see coal trains this go round as well as many freight trains along CSX. The coal train was a real surprise on this one as it was a Baltimore reroute, which I will explain later in the clip, as well as mostly former TILX hoppers. And it's always good to see some distributed power hard at work. We also get to see a brand new CSX Mac fresh out of Huntington shops and CSX 1851, one of these very specially painted CSX heritage units, which I was not expecting to get. But as always, these crews put on a wonderful show as they move these trains along this very busy main line. And it's always great to see the cab cars from VRE, the MP36s manufactured by Motive Power Industries, the Chargers leading Amtrak trains, and still, the classic Genesis are still roaming the rails after many years of service. And many CSX engines working hard to pull America's freight along the CSX RF&P subdivision. This is one of my very favorite places, and you can probably figure out why. And we also get to see a rare appearance of Amtrak-8 number 516, which was also featured in our last video, as it was built in December of 1991, and it was online trailing on Amtrak 53. So please, come along with Engineer Pat 5290 as we explore Spotsylvania 2025 Volume 2, as it's the last volume of 2025. This was a great outing, and it's always great to see some wonderful trains on this very busy main line. Here we see Amtrak 92 with a pair of Chargers leading the way. Great crew as it goes northbound. CSX M409 rolls southbound with a healthy sized train, with CSX SD70 Mag 4822 leading at ES40 DC. The 4822 was built in October of 2004, as it was freshly rebuilt at Huntington shops. Awesome crew making lots of noise as it goes southbound. Crank your speakers for this one. As M409 continues to go south, note the Conrail cars, the New York Central TAG gondola, which actually was a former Penn Central. As you can see, the logo was a little bit worn off. But lots of different road names are featured on this train. Note the Tropicana juice cars a little bit further in the video. You can see just about every railroad represented in a manifest train. The train was going slow on the track due to a speed restriction. It's always good to see fresh rebuilds come out of Huntington shops. And I'm also glad to see the flared SD70 Max and the non-flared SD70 Max have a second life continuing to run on trains. I love seeing 70 Max, as it's one of my favorite newer EMD builds. I remember personally when those engines were fresh from EMD. Amtrak 80 rolls northbound with a classic Genesis leading the way with a great crew at the helm. Amtrak 41 rolls southbound with a classic pair of Chargers leading the way. Great crew as it goes southbound. Amtrak 95 rolls southbound with a classic Charger leading the way. Amtrak 53, the classic auto train, comes southbound with a pair of Chargers leading the way as he blows through Spotsylvania. The VRE parade begins with 303 and 305, both with MP36 leaders.
Train 307 bound for Spotsylvania is delayed 5 minutes due to
Amtrak 90 rolls northbound with the Charger leading the way. VRE 307 and 309 come into the picture as they will come in for the night, both with MP36 leaders.
Train 311 bound for Spotsylvania is delayed 10 minutes due to track congestion at Union Station.
Amtrak 66 rolls northbound with a Charger leading the way. Amtrak 89 and Amtrak 79 are next in the lineup, both having Chargers as leaders. CSX C-14918, a Baltimore rerouted loaded coal train with 4 GEs, 2 up front and 2 in the back. Note the AC 4400 number 242 and the CM 44 as one of the first DPs. It's good to see some of the 200 series AC 44s still roaming the rails after many years of service. Note the former TILX hoppers that CSX recently purchased. I am really surprised to see all of these hoppers, but I'm glad to see that CSX got some second-hand cars to help move America's coal. This was a good train, and it was a wonderful surprise as I got a heads up from one of my friends. VRE 301 comes into Spotsylvania with an MP36 in command. My first time seeing 301. Following this train will be Amtrak 80 and 138, both having classic Genesis for power. Great crew on 301 and a great crew on 138. VRE 303 comes after Amtrak 138 with yet another MP36 in command. Amtrak 53 with the Chargers of the Dash 8 as they scream through Spotsylvania. CSX M41819 with CSX 774 and 148 leading. The 148 in YN2 was built in March of 1996. Great crew and a great sized train as it goes northbound. CSX M415 concludes the volume with 2 up front and 2 in the middle, with a beautiful horn on the leader. Note one of the surprises as mid-DP. It is with M415 with 1851 as the second mid-DP, and it's this exciting volume. Please remember to like, subscribe, and tap the bell. And let me know what you all think in the comments below. And please remember to subscribe to Heritage Village Trains. Until next time, this is Engineer Pat 5290 signing out.